know what?
I want to get mono out of there afterwards. Just a reminder. Oh, shit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Bad Dinner Guest episode. I am Kev tonight, and every night, actually. But I'm here tonight with RJ.
See, this is what I was talking about with you being like a plant. I am Kev tonight. That was a little slip-up you had.
Yep. Breaking
Where were you last night? I didn't see you much last night.
That was the other guy.
Yeah.
It's a great segue into tonight's topic. This is, of course, this would be the 8th episode of our Bible study. So tonight we are reading Genesis 8. Big time.
You know, I was talking about how we need to start numbering episodes. This one's been good. We don't have to worry about going back through it.
Yeah,
trying to count.
This one does it for us. It's quite nice. The other nice thing about this episode is it gives us all of our material already. It's been around for years.
That's true.
Referencing the King James Version for those of you reading along at home. Of course, if you're on YouTube, you can read along with us. But I guess, should I give the disclaimer?
I mean, we've given the disclaimer a bunch. I would just tell them to check out the first episode of this, which I guess I'm doing now.
Yep. I like that.
Check out the first episode of this if you want to know what we're up to. We're not here to directly make fun of anybody or anything like that. But we're just going through this one chapter at a time and reading it kind of objectively. And if we find something funny or maybe a little fishy with it, we're talking about it. Anything of interest, really, though. So don't look for a reason to be offended, and you won't find one, basically, is the gist of it. But if you want the full scoop, check out Genesis 1.
Well put. I like that.
All right, cool.
Honest. We will be honest, if nothing else. Well, I suppose I'll get the party started tonight by doing a little last time on. So
we join our heroes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the Ark, Noah. So in chapter 7, we had everything dying. The waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. That was me tripping all over the final verse of chapter 7.
It's all right.
Chapter 7, verse 24. But the moral of that story is everything is dead. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights and sat there for 150 days, which is still an awkward way to say that number.
Yeah, not terribly well written. Which was your favorite part? Mine was the everything drowning to death.
Mine was everything being mentioned over and over again. Mine was the redundancy.
Yeah, come to think about it, I did appreciate the thoroughness of making sure we understood that every creature and what every creature was and what every creature meant. I did really appreciate that thoroughness. And then that all of those creatures died except for a select few.
Yes. And also, for the long version, just listen to the last episode if you haven't yet. But we talked about it a little bit. Just the moments where they choose to be vague, where Moses chooses to be vague, and the moments where he chooses to really get into stuff, it just seems odd. It seems, if anything, poorly edited. And if Enoch, again, is the reference I'm going to continue to draw from. A guy who was pulled up into heaven after only 300 years, while everyone else lived to be around 900 and died. And in one verse, the life and taking up directly to heaven was covered of that. Something I feel like would have been a great little trove of knowledge for the rest of us to have. What was that dude about? Conspiracy theorists out there and alternate historians are screaming, the Book of Enoch, it's a thing. They're screaming that at me right now. I have heard of it. I haven't read it yet. Love to read it. Maybe one day I'll read it to you guys out loud.
I would like to look that up
and tear it apart and ask questions about it as well. But so
there could be some sacred knowledge in there.
That's the argument. It really does all, sarcasm and satire aside, that is a very interesting topic to me. I would love to look into it. I hate to trust a copy I find on the internet, but that's what will be resorted to.
I mean, that's what I'm resorting to now.
And
but you do have your hard copy there to back us up on it.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've had, yeah. I love the hard copy. And so I might as well read from it. Genesis 8, verse 1. And God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded.
They understood evaporation, at least.
Yep.
Kind of.
Until how long did it? I mean, we haven't known about evaporation as humans for that long anyway.
No, not really.
Yeah, on the grand scheme, even based on this timeline.
Yeah. Supposedly.
We've had it. We've only had that knowledge for maybe 100 years and some change.
Yeah, I don't know how hard it is to figure out, though, because you recognize that it gets muggy the closer to water you get, and you would have to put 2 and 2 together, you would think, even without, science. Maybe I give myself too much credit. I don't know. But I have to think that I would just be like, oh, well, it's muggy here. There's a bunch of water here, and when I was farther away from this, it wasn't like this, and there was no water. Like, deserts are dry. Wonder what that's about. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I think I feel personally like that's part of the trap of us living in a modern society with all this kind of common knowledge now, is that we kind of apply, like, you have that intelligence now based on your experiences to date.
Yeah.
So if you were living in a time where people who knew how to read and write were considered witches, or priests, one way or the other, but it depends on it. So, and now that's the complete end of the spectrum. That's like the very beginning-ish of time. But even in an era where people were burning other people alive for the Crusades, or just some of the less modern eras, it's kind of easy for us to take our own knowledge for granted, as we've been able to learn off all this history.
Some village in South America burned a woman alive because she was a witch. It was some remote village. They weren't Christians. They were some remote village religion. But, they had a trial and everything. They accused her of getting, some of the villagers sick. She was, a 73-year-old woman. And they, burned her alive.
Wow.
Yeah. There's video of it. Cell phone video. That's the world we live in. Where you can have some ancient ritualistic shit like that where they still believe in witchcraft. And you can be, tried, accused, and burned at the stake a witch. But they can capture it on video and cope with that.
Which begs the question to bring it back to this. That's another part of Genesis that was swept under the rug.
Cell phones?
The part of I'm going to tie it together here in a second. If we now live in a world where someone is burned alive as a witch, or where Hitler happened, it makes you wonder what the sons of God and the daughters of men did that made the world worth flooding that we have been unable to accomplish. It was
gay sex.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah, it's coming again. I don't know if you've heard the preachers, but it's gay sex is the problem. It's the reason we have dead soldiers. It's the reason we have crime, AIDS, probably AIDS, actually. They might have been onto something with the AIDS, but...
You have either gained or lost us a ton of listeners based on that last minute. And either way, whichever way it goes, it will be for the wrong reason.
Well, I successfully lost whatever point I was almost trying to make.
I'm sorry.
No, it's worth it. Probably should have just gotten off of it way earlier.
You were talking about the second coming of this flood.
Oh, yeah.
The end of days.
It's homosexual behavior. Murder's okay. Everything else is okay in there. Wiping out entire tribes of unbelievers, completely fine. But laying with a man, as a man, should with a woman, floods. Yep. So, that's... Where do we join our heroes?
So, verse 2, now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth.
So, flat Earth wins one here. Kind of, but we know where the water came from now. It wasn't just in the ice, it was in springs, so it was down in the water table. So those stopped, and then the floodgates of the heavens, which rain maybe. So it was a little bit of both. Column A, column B.
Which tends to be
But
most
none of it was ice water.
Yeah. No ice water.
What would have happened if Noah would have hit an iceberg, like Titanic style?
See, and this is where I think this could be an interpretation thing, where this could have just been a regional flood.
Yeah.
To where it...
We do know there was a freaking huge flood, though.
Yeah.
All over everywhere.
Yeah, that is true.
We have that silt layer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Because those, that would have naturally floated. I don't know. That is a good question. I'm just going to push through because I don't have an answer. Verse 3, the water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Now that's weird. Again... So it's just very interesting, the use of day over and over again. It's part of, at times I feel like it's just a mistranslation one way or the other, because in one, why we know based on Genesis 1, God has the ability to create the earth in a day, to create different aspects. So what was the need to make it the 17th day of the 7th month? Like, it seems very specific and thought out. Like, of all the details we've skimmed over.
Yeah. Well,
these are the details that get very specific again, and it's confusing to me.
You're not wrong.
Like what is paid attention to and what isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess God just wanted it to like happen according to the laws of nature instead of the laws of God in this instance, to where the water had to unnaturally go away. It doesn't make sense. You're right. Okay, you're right, Kevin. You're right. Also, where's Mount Ararat? I'll have to look that up.
It's fun to say.
Ararat. Yeah, I'm gonna name my kid that.
That it's gonna be taken because it's about to be my hip hop name. But
yeah.
So in verse 5, the waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. So this is taking forever.
Cow. Okay, so he hit land and then still had to sit there and wait. That, at least he could shovel the crap off the boat and stuff like that, just sitting there. You weren't getting seasick. But it was a pretty small space. Like, he was just cooped up there with all those animals for a real long time.
Yeah, and this is...
on the top of a mountain
It's going to continue. No. I have a feeling.
Poor Noah.
It's going to be... Yeah, this... I don't know about you. I don't remember this detail of how long after the rain had stopped Noah had to wait, but...
Yeah. Do you want me to attempt this?
Sure, go for it. Verse 6.
Alrighty. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. So this dove flew all over earth. And then was like, nope, I don't think they realized how far doves can fly when they wrote this. Or Noah had like some incredible drones that he called doves. Which good on him.
Yeah, is the dove an allegory? Yeah, but based on the earth that we know now, how is that has to be some sort of misnomer. And again, so we know that it took 40 days, but it doesn't tell us how long the dove flew, like how long it took the dove to fly. And again, it just seems to pick and choose when days are important.
Yeah.
And when it's important to tell you the numbers of things, and it's This part is odd to me again. I didn't think I would find an issue with it, but then when you said something, I realized, hold up, this doesn't add up to me either.
Where do we?
It would be 10.
Oh, yep. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf! ! Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. Just a weird little thing there. You normally don't see exclamation points in the Bible. So that was on the website, but verse 11 there. And you also rarely see 2 sentences as a verse. And there we see 2 sentences as a verse. Verse 11. So that's just a little strange to me. Is it the same in your hard copy?
Yeah, that's what I am looking at. We were on
8:11.
11. Well, I'm not. There is no exclamation point
in your Bible?
in the hard copy, which is interesting.
Right on. That's
And
just
then,
the website.
Yeah, it's all commas and colons and periods.
Okay. Is there a period after olive leaf?
Olive leaf was an olive leaf plucked off. No, there's a colon after.
Okay.
Off.
Yeah, that's more like what I would expect to see. So that's just the website as compared to the Bible there. That's weird.
Which is why I'm glad we have this.
Yeah. Yeah. 12. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. Bummer. So he sends
So
this
what
thing,
does that? Yeah, what is it? Wait.
sends it out, nothing. He's like, okay, nothing must be dry. Not that the dove was just like, I'm not going to bring him a gift. Like, he flooded the earth. I'm not going to just bring him back something. He probably flew out, ate, and came back, and hung out some more. And then it comes back with an olive leaf real quick to him the next time. But this time, the bird was just like, bye. Like, I'm done with your shenanigans, Noah. You don't own me anymore.
Yeah, that's very. This whole thing is weird. And again, and it's just it says it doesn't say how long he waited for the dove to return either.
No.
Like, and after 10 minutes, he gave up.
Yeah, I mean, the earth is a huge place. Maybe one of those giants survived and got it.
And I'm guilty of this. This is why I was prescribed Ritalin as a child.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been reading ahead, and we're about to get very frustrated even more by the whole dove thing. So,
good.
Spoiler alert of a not spoiler.
13. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. I want to skip that section. I don't even want to talk about it.
I just want to
There's
point
so
that
many numbers.
It's almost like the numbers are done in a way to just confuse you to the point that you just don't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Like, it went from describing it by days, and then it jumped ahead to the first day of the first month of his 601st year, and then it goes by counting days and months from the start of that year. But you weren't counting on that. That wasn't your measurement of counting in the paragraph before. So it almost feels purposely confusing to me. Maybe if we went back and read the last chapter with this one and wrote down a timeline side by side, it might all hold out.
Yeah,
it's a project I will undertake at a different time.
I won't even commit to that. I'm going to see if somebody else did it. But so it looks like it was like February, toward the end of February, that the earth was completely dry. But he took the covering off somewhere in the beginning of January, right?
Sounds about right.
Yay. Good for Noah. I mean, he's chilling up there on that mountain. Just like, I'm going to wait. I wonder if he was just waiting for it not to be so muddy. If he didn't want to, like, track anything anywhere. Like, why wouldn't, if you could, like, see that it was drying up, wouldn't you just, like, get off that ark and go, like, hang out somewhere else?
I mean, is he waiting? God talked to him all beforehand. Is he waiting to hear the word? But then why is he sending doves? But
yeah. It didn't say God told him to send a dove.
It doesn't say why he waits, but I guess, the thought is, I've held all of these animals for this long. I might want to make sure the ground's worth walking on.
Yeah, I guess.
And probably giving plants a chance to heal up and regrow get them started.
It's a good guy, Noah, that guy. 15?
Yes, sir.
15. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." I feel like you didn't have to explain all of the animals again that he was about to let off there. Like, nobody would assume when God said, "Let everything off the boat," he meant anything but let everything off the boat. You didn't have to tell him the birds, also the animals that aren't birds, and then also all the creatures that aren't animals or birds, but still move on the ground.
And so that they can multiply and be fruitful and increase in number, which it's like the rule of threes. Like you just said the same thing 3 times. Just so again, it's when details do show up, it's not even that it's details. It's just redundancy. It's just repeated. It's
still simpler to understand than that last section we were on, though.
But again, and it also makes that whole time pointless.
Yeah.
It makes the raven pointless. It makes the dove pointless. The dove saga.
Can we go back to that real quick?
Yeah.
That raven thing? I forgot about that. But so he sent out the raven, right? When was that?
It goes
and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth.
Why
7. Did he send out the raven first?
Why
and
did he
then
do any
start
of it?
sending out doves?
But also, yeah, and then it says that the raven. Go back for a second. That the raven kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't mention if it comes back or not, but it says that it flew back and forth until it had dried up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did the raven come back and then he sent a dove? But then the dove was like, no, it's too wet. But anyway, the whole big picture, though, that whole process was trivial and meaningless because at some point he just waited for God to tell him to do this. So what was the point of all that? Noah's like that guy standing at the bus stop who stands up on the bench, looks down the road to see where the bus is because somehow that'll make the bus get here faster.
You're not wrong.
It's like, no, just quit being a fidgeter.
That's exactly what he wants. Like,
takes one to know one. I'm not judging.
Or like keeps looking at his phone, waiting on it to ring.
Yeah, or like he's running late, so he just keeps looking at his watch, like he's gonna slow time down. Yeah, that's Noah.
Yeah, what a jerk! What an impatient jerk that God found him to be the best subject. Still.
It just reeks of a lack of self-confidence. Just reeks, beta. Real. I feel like Noah had anxiety attacks at times.
He may have been paranoid schizophrenic.
Real submissive guy.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But that's most Noahs I know. To be completely.
Well,
I don't think I've ever met like a really alpha Noah.
is it weird that normally my first thought when I meet a Noah is like, I'm not sure I want to meet your parents?
Maybe.
It's got nothing to do, like, I've never had ill will towards a Noah, but I always think, like, dude, your parents, like you, they might as well named you Simba.
Yeah.
I'd have the same reaction.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, now that you
Like, when
mentioned
someone's like, my name's Noah, I want to go, Sabenya. Like, spare me, chosen one. No, like.
I love children's literature, too. Yeah, I'm going to name my kid, like, Bart. I'm going to have Bart and Lisa.
Oh, I'm gonna play along. It's gonna be like Maximilian.
Yeah.
And his name will be an alliteration. It'll be real powerful.
I like it.
Yep.
Trump. I'm going to name my kid Trump Widely.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, after getting the okay from the Almighty, at 18 we have, so Noah came out, together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, in case you forgot. 19, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on the land, came out of the ark, one kind after another. So, play by play.
Mm-hmm.
Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of the clean animals and clean birds, and taking taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds. He said that doesn't make sense to me. Why do you taking some of all?
Yeah, okay, so all the clean animals and birds.
Yeah.
So all of those, he's taking some of each of them.
Some of each of them. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that one was tripping me up. I was like, wait, some and all. So
yeah. And then
my apologies there. And then he had burnt offerings on it. So priority 1 was build me an altar and sacrifice. I made you save just these few
from drowning.
But the most important thing, the first thing you have to do is slaughter some and sacrifice them to me. So how do those ones reproduce? Or I guess they had been reproducing in the year to 3 years, however long they were on that boat.
A while. Yeah, it's a little that the fact that everything that was drowned to death wasn't enough of a sacrifice.
Again,
but maybe the sacrifice was a thanks for the dry land. It just
maybe
seems a little strange to me.
I hate that I feel like I say this a lot, but the more we read Genesis, the more I understand how Gnosticism was a thing when this whole thing first started.
Yeah.
I get how people would make that argument. Like, sounds you would think the whole point was for him to be there to take care of the earth. So the first priority wouldn't be build me an altar and slaughter some animals, but
no.
Me going to hell aside.
Yes.
Verse 21, the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done.
So basically God says, even though I did all this, you guys are all still going to be evil. But the only thing that gets him there is smelling the aroma of the burned animals that survived on the boat from his mass slaughter. So he doesn't really say, I'm sorry. He's just like, yeah, this didn't change anything. You're going to be evil forever, but I won't do this again. So I like that God has a sense of smell. He likes barbecue. And that he obviously has some empathy, because at the end of it, he was like, I went a bit too far.
And just like, think about this for a second. Even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood.
Yeah.
That's almost untrue to me. I mean, I know plenty of children that I don't know, I'll put it this way. I don't know a single human child whom's every inclination is evil.
No, it doesn't say that every... Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Every
this time I'm
inclination
not
of the
tripping
human
over
heart
myself.
is evil from childhood. Yeah, I didn't realize it was worded like that. Holy crap. So everything they want to do is technically evil, according to... That's insane.
And as George Carlin once said, but he loves you.
Yeah, well, I mean...
And he needs money.
22. Oh, he gives a little poem. Okay. Do you want? I can read it.
You want to do the honors? I've always been terrible at poetry.
It's not very rhymey, so it should be fine. Genesis 8:22. As long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. So,
ooh.
As long as the earth is spinning, life goes on. Because he's not going to wipe it out ever again.
Yeah, with that, it was sort of a mic drop.
Yeah, he's like, screw you, global warming.
So technically, I wonder, this should technically be in, this is the first ever, this is in the record books, this is the first ever poem. I don't think we should overlook that completely.
Yeah.
So that was...
Good on him.
Yeah, I like it. God just busting rhymes. He's like, yeah, this chicken smells so good. I'm gonna drop some dimes on him.
But he's had eternity to perfect his flow. And that's the best first poem we got.
Well, it probably sounded beautiful, but it's been through translation. It's probably had to be butchered just to make it rhyme in English. It probably didn't even say exactly that, and probably said something very close to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was interesting. Again, I made my George Carlin joke and my but this was one of those chapters where again I read this and I know there's a lot more of the story to be told, but I'm like, man, God is sounds a little butthurt at times in Genesis, not necessarily the all endearing entity that we're raised with.
Right.
More even than a vengeful God, you could say at times some of these things seem a little petty, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Especially since you were like, so he picked Noah because he was the best he could find, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was pure.
And then he's like, even though you're evil and I shouldn't have even picked you, I'm never going to wipe you out again.
That's the part that I have a problem with, and that's where, like, I would concede maybe that this would be an addition. I'm hoping the part of me that is holding on to this idea is hoping that that's a revision at some point along. Like, that sounds like something the Romans would add when they print the Bible only in Catholic and, pre-Martin Luther days. That sounds like a Roman edition. That sounds like Jesus saying, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yeah.
That's always been a Bible verse that's made me scratch my head.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Sorry, I'm always so late with those.
It's also, though, that verse has been argued to be like Jesus. I think we've talked about this. Being like, because you're not supposed to be materialistic, that if it's, you don't care, like, give it away.
Yeah, but Caesar's awfully specific. I mean, I understand that was part of that time.
Yeah.
They were slaves to the Roman Empire around the time of Jesus, but yeah, it's interesting, but that every inclination of every child and every single human is evil. I think it's
a little extreme.
A little rough, but that brings us to an end for tonight's episode.
That it does. So you guys can check us out at baddinnerguests.blogspot.com. That's Bad Dinner Guests with an S at the end, or at Bad Dinner Guests on Twitter. I'm RJ with 60 Grit on Twitter. 60 Grit Radio on Twitter, actually. What do you got coming up, Kevin?
Check out the blog, as you mentioned. We've got a lot of stuff coming from me right now. I'm kind of in admin mode. We have a lot of episodes from other people, but you guys can find me at Bad Dinner Guests on Twitter or at my boy Kev and see what's coming up.
Cool. Later.